On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. There is a very interesting theory running around right now about why and how Trump is stripping the money away from these colleges, especially Harvard, but I think Brown and a couple others are also on this same list. Got a very interesting theory around that someone shared. I can't wait to get to that. Also, a lot going on in the big picture around El Salvador and the exporting of people, and oh gosh, so much going on, and other court cases, stuff going on with the tariffs and all that. Yeah, we got a lot happening. Let's get into it. Let's start chit-chatting as we get this ball rolling. Wanted to start here because I think this is just, I don't know, funny. So there you go. We're going to start with the funny. And it's right over yonder. Here we go. Now, we don't have volume on this, which is fine. This is a statue, I think up in San Francisco or something like that. And yeah, you might be noticing he seems to, in fact, be crawling inside of her butt. Or as my girlfriend says, her boldet. That is, I guess, the Tagalog word for butt. Or boldet. So yeah, they crawled inside of the boldet. Of course, it made me think of Kentucky jelly. Kentucky jelly, Dan, what's that? I always thought it was funny how it was KY jelly. Made me think of Kentucky. But right, they would have lubed that up a little better. That guy might have been able to get in just a hair easier than what he apparently had to struggled to do, right? He didn't get in there real easily. And to squeeze into that sphincter, though, that's for sure. Jeez, yikes. So yeah, KY, good stuff. All right, here we go. Oh, this was beautiful. So during the earthquake here in California, which, by the way, it was 5.3, people are freaking out about it. Oh my God, pray for them. Get out. Shut the fuck up. Seriously, it's a 5.3. It's California. It's nothing. Most of us didn't even feel it. Okay, so please, all right? If that happens in, like, I don't know, Massachusetts, yeah, you guys are going to freak out totally. But in California, please. If it's up over a 6, you can maybe start sending prayers out our ways, but please. Or if it lasts for 5 minutes or something stupid. But get out. It's 5.3. It's nothing. It's not an earthquake. It's a ground burp is what it is. But anyways, this was beautiful, and you can kind of see it shaking, which will make all you people that think earthquakes are scary, which they kind of are, but it wasn't. But this is beautiful. It's elephants. It's one of the many reasons why we love elephants, because they're freaking awesome creatures. Check this out. See how they form a circle around the baby? That's cute. Got the baby all protected, and they're like, all right, it's just a stupid 5.3. Go back to work. Back to work. Basically. It's kind of beautiful. Saturday Night Live, man, they pissing off some progressive people with this skit. So, of course, we're going to like it. Check it out. So you get the point. A lot of people were very upset by this. All sorts of comments. I don't know. Good on Saturday Night Live for breaking things through. All right, I'm going to cover something that's going to maybe upset some of you. I don't want it to. I'm not trying to. And in fact, this has to do with flat Earth. And I will honestly say, this is a theory that I can kind of live with. And I've talked a lot about Law of One and the Law of Confusion. And it certainly ties into this. And I've also talked about how we've got a graduation or a harvest that is supposed to be coming. Now, I kind of think, the best of I can put it together at this point, that there's roughly 4 paths that we can end up on. I think 2 of these paths will join together and go in one direction, and then 2 of these paths will go in a totally different direction and have totally different experiences for the next harvest cycle. I don't want to get too lost in the weeds here, but ultimately it will end up making more sense, I think, as we get down the road. But the 4 paths that I kind of feel like are out there, there is the path of continuing third dimension. They don't want to harvest. They don't want to graduate. They want to go another cycle in the third dimension. Totally cool. It's not a failure. It's nothing bad about it. It's going to happen to a bunch of people. Those people will not stay on this earth. I don't know how this transition occurs, but they won't stay on the earth. The earth is going to be a 4 or 5D, maybe 6D even, paradise, living space for us to continue our evolution. And it's also not supposed to really be service to self any longer as well, which is the other side of that 3D component. I think the service to self component is also going to go elsewhere. Now, those two may stay together. I don't know if the 3D people are going to need that that opposite kind of thing, that service to self, service to others. They probably will, because you've got to work through 3D and ultimately decide where you fall in line with that, and whether you're going to choose service to self or service to others. So again, there's that option. Then the other two are really the ones that are going to kind of stay here on Earth. That's the service to others, fourth, fifth, sixth density, and the service to others tech-assisted. This is going to be the people that most likely use technology to enhance their own humanness. Again, kind of odd that these two paths are going to stay together, but from what I understand, they're going to. So Dr. Sala, someone I have a lot of respect for, he was taking questions, and somebody asked about the flat Earth. And he gave the response that I actually believe first, which was the CIA component. But then he shares another theory that's actually been posed or posited by somebody else. And that theory actually made a lot of sense to me. So again, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to besmirch. I'm actually trying to give, I don't know, a little credit to the flat Earth people, maybe.
Our next question comes from Vivi, who would like to know your take on the flat Earth theory and its origins, and whether it started out as a deliberate disinformation campaign by the deep state.
Okay, the flat Earth theory, very, very interesting. I've always been very skeptical of that, never really gave it much currency, and thought it was just a CIA psyop designed by someone who wanted to see whether or not they could fool a lot of people. But with further reflection and study, I found a really compelling explanation in, I think it was book 3 of the Transylvania Sunrise book series by Radu Cinema. And he explained the flat Earth theory, and I think it actually makes a lot of sense. The flat Earth theory is designed for souls that are not ready to transition into a galactic society. That there are souls who still want to experience 3D reality as it is today, that they don't want things to change. And in fact, that the flat Earth theory is a way for them to kind of like maintain the current 3D reality. They want nothing to do with the Star Trek future. They want nothing to do with interaction with galactics. So they are creating they've accepted a philosophy, this flat Earth theory, which will eventually lead to them being displaced and removed to another planet where they continue the 3D reality. And to me, that makes a lot of sense, because it's all about a free will choice. If you don't want anything to do with this kind of whole galactic society, extraterrestrials walking amongst us, and giants, and super soldiers, and for a lot of people, that's scary because they're not starseeds. For the starseeds amongst us, and I'm sure many of you watching this are starseeds, you look forward to becoming a part of a galactic civilization. For those that don't have that starseed heritage, that are still new to 3D reality, Earth may be their first incarnational plane of existence, it is one damn scary scenario. They don't want nothing to do with it. So the flat Earth theory actually is a convenient way for them to express their free will choice, that we want nothing to do with this Star Trek future. We want to just continue things as they are. We like the 3D reality, and that will enable them to be taken to another Earth that will allow them to kind of like play out the 3D reality as they want it to be, where it's just, there's nothing beyond the Earth other than just what you see with your eyes, ears, and feel and touch, and that'll be their new reality. And so, yes, I think ultimately it comes down to a free will choice.
And again, a law of confusion would suggest that that's an actual option. And again, I would assume there's going to be a few of the flat earthers that think that's absurd. Dan, the Earth's just flat. Of course, we're going to ascend with you guys. You guys don't really believe in the place we're going to, though. Like, It is literally more going to be like a Star Trek future. There is going to be craft in space. We've got hidden technology. We've made trips to other planets. We're capable of doing these things. And there's a lot of people that just don't think that's possible. So I don't know if those worlds are congruent. And I honestly think as we get closer and closer to the harvest, those paths will diverge even further. And so I think that will be kind of part of how this plays out. It's fun, and this was very funny because J.D. Vance even kind of cracked a joke about the fact that he did this. Kind of broke this championship trophy. It fell apart. I mean, he didn't really break it. It seems the base and the top are not stuck together real well. J.D. Vance said, I didn't want anyone after Ohio State to get the trophy, so I decided to break it, which was very damn funny. Needless to say, here's the 18 seconds. Should have been 17. I like how they just kind of hand him the top part of it afterwards. They're like, just hold this part. But screw the bottom. We don't need the bottom. U.S. Army is going to control land on Mexico border as part of the base. Migrants could be detained. Officials said we've kind of talked about this, but they're literally going to be bringing some stuff along that little slither. It's 60 feet, sliver, I should say. 60 feet, I guess, wide, all across the entire southern border of this country, mainly on the Mexico border part rather than the Gulf. I don't think we care as much about that. But this is going to be happening. They're saying this is possibly even going to be where they're going to be able to hold people even, and then immediately be able to withdraw them, because this is not state land, so nobody's really going to have any abilities to do lawsuits. I think that's part of why they're doing this. Whatever the case is, this is going to be kind of a big deal. I guess maybe down in Florida, too, they might be doing it. I saw something about Cuba. Oh, that's just to send migrants back in some cases to detention facilities in Guantanamo Bay. So this is going to be interesting how it plays out. This admiral is now the contender for Navy chief. We'll see if he actually gets it. But this admiral, Daryl Cottle, he's a longstanding admiral who has demanded accountability for America's ailing shipbuilding industry. He has emerged as a front runner for the Navy's top officer post, according to 5 people with knowledge of the process. We'll see if he gets in. Obviously, Politico, we can't trust them for anything. But it is an oddly positive story about him. So who knows? Who knows? These guys seems like people pretty much dig him. Cottle has been unusually blunt in calling out failures in the defense industry base. I am not forgiving of the fact that they're not delivering the ordnance we need, Cottle said in 2023 when defense contractors were slow to restock the Navy's depleted weapons arsenal. He has also criticized the service's lack of public shipyards to maintain warships and said the Navy should be embarrassed that it can't develop lasers to provide air defense aboard ships, or to put them on the heads of friggin' sharks. He joined the Navy more than 3 decades ago as commander of the nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine before taking over the service's submarine fleet in the Atlantic and serving as vice director on the Joint Chiefs, here in the call sign Honey Badger, due to his tenacity and ability to solve hard problems. Cottle has taken on an even more public profile in recent months, praising the Navy's efforts to patrol U.S. territorial waters after the Trump administration ordered more military assets to the southern border. He appeared in a Navy video in March that touted the deployment of guided missile destroyers to waters off the coast for the border mission. The longtime admiral referred to the location as the Gulf of America, which Trump renamed from the Gulf of Mexico, yada, yada. So he says, our Navy is answering the call to safeguard America's southern border. So again, he's kind of saying the right stuff. I don't know. It freaks me out a little bit that Politico's putting the story out because it makes it hard to believe. IRS leadership. They have a history of bankrolling Democrats supporting left-wing movements. Apparently this truth is starting to come out. This memo was drafted by the American Accountability Foundation, found that 60% of people occupying leadership positions of the IRS commissioner and deputy commissioner offices have financially or verbally supported liberal causes. It has also found that not a single person in such a role was a registered Republican, gave money to Republican candidates, or posted conservative messaging on social media. President Donald Trump has aggressively downsized the tax collection agency in an effort to automate many of its functions and to use its vast stores of taxpayer information in service of his policy goals, most notably immigration enforcement. Now, of course, IRS would have to be a bunch of people on the left because they're the only ones that really believe that the government has a right to steal all of our money. In fact, many of them, even though they don't pay as much, tend to consider it an honor to be able to pay taxes, though most of us don't agree with that. The Internal Revenue Service Chief Information Officer said he is leaving the agency later this month, announcing his departure shortly before the April 15th tax filing deadline, which, by the way, happy April 15th to those of you that waited till today to pay your taxes, or to whatever, file your taxes, I guess. Multiple outlets reported Monday evening of this. Rajiv Upal, who has served in the role since early 2024, announced in an email to staff that he will depart the tax collecting agency on April 28th, according to reports. 25 years of information, or of working in the information technology sector, if you will. So another high-level departure, which is good. I mean, they're making it sound like it's a bad thing. Nope, this is great. Fantastically great. President Donald Trump's administration has also ordered open new tab U.S. Justice Department employees not to post anything on social media related to their government work after a wave of new political appointees took to cheerleading Trump and castigating his opponents online. The directive, which was emailed to U.S. Attorney's Office late on Monday, appears to prohibit the types of social media posts that Trump's political appointees routinely make on their official government accounts. The change was made by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who has become frustrated by some of the rhetoric being posted by political appointees, according to one person familiar with the matter. Those, in my opinion, those Twitter accounts shouldn't be used the way they would as personal accounts. So I don't know. I agree with what he's doing. I don't know. Maybe you guys disagree, but I think it's an interesting direction to come at. Now, in regards to like the tariffs and all that kind of stuff, we've got some interesting information. Honda, they're going to be significantly expanding their U.S. manufacturing. They're going to be bringing stuff from Canada and Mexico back into the United States. They're supposed to ramp up that production by up to 30% over the next 2 to 3 years. And this is, of course, to get around the tariffs. Now, Trump has been sued over the Liberation Day tariffs. Been sued by a bunch of people. I wonder if they could technically have standing, but I don't think there's a chance in hell these guys are going to be able to pull this case. But the lawsuit contests Trump's ability to impose the tariffs unilaterally by invoking the International Emergencies Economic Powers Act. The 1977 law provides the president with the authority to impose necessary economic sanctions to combat an unusual and extraordinary threat, but no previous president has leveraged it to impose tariffs. Quote, "Our system is not set up so that one person in the system can have the power to impose taxes across the world economy. That's not how our constitutional republic works," said Jeffrey Schwab, senior counsel at Liberty Justice Center, which is the leading of the lawsuit there, the leading, lawyers of the lawsuit. I do think it's funny that the amendment that they passed, quote unquote, to allow taxes to be legal was never actually passed by the 2/3 of the states required, that the vote was actually done in the middle of the night, and that it was never passed. So legally, they never did have a right to charge us taxes, and to have one individual kind of looking out for the American people, at least somebody is where most of us are on that side of right now. Trump is going to impose pharmaceutical tariffs similar to a 25% duty on cars. He said duty. This is going to be interesting to see how this one actually plays off. Now, obviously, it's meant to bring pharmaceutical manufacturing back into the United States. That's a good thing. We shouldn't rely on China predominantly to give us pharmaceuticals. 2, we're relying on our enemy to not poison our pharmaceuticals, which there's a lot of studies that have come out suggesting that fentanyl has ended up in many of the pharmaceutical drugs that are being manufactured, maybe by China or possibly other people. So this is interesting. I know there's a lot of seniors that use the pharmaceuticals, certainly other people too. But and I know some of these are extraordinarily expensive. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know how much Medicaid's going to eat of that or what. I mean, again, we're gonna have to find out. This is going to be painful for some of us. Some of us might not hurt as bad. Some of us it's going to hurt a lot. We'll see how it all plays out. The Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, she's going to be the first European leader to come here and talk to Trump. Many are saying that she's trying to actually work out the deal for the EU. She's definitely someone that's a lot more friendly with Trump. Hungary's Orban would have been a good choice, but right now the EU is very much beating up on Hungary. They're very, very upset with Hungary. They're trying to take away their voting rights. So Hungary is probably not the best country to try to work out a deal for the EU, because I think Hungary would basically say, F you, EU, Trump, raise their tariffs 100%. So we'll see what Maloney can do. Again, no promises by anybody, that's for sure. In response to the U.S. decision to impose 145% tariffs on Chinese goods, China has ordered its airlines not to take any further deliveries of Boeing jets. Beijing has also asked that Chinese carriers halt purchases of aircraft-related equipment and parts from U.S. companies. This will be interesting, like how long before Chinese aircraft that are Boeing start falling from the sky? Don't know. It's going to be bad. I also have a funny feeling that Airbus, you watch, I have a funny feeling that Airbus is going to begin to start having some strange issues with their craft. You watch. You watch as this game plays out. It's going to be very interesting to see. But right now, China is playing hardball with us. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Monday said the White House will start interviewing candidates this fall to succeed Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. His term ends May of 2026. Bessent, speaking with Bloomberg TV during a visit to Afghanistan, said that he would give the Trump administration about 6 months lead time before Powell leaves office. He gave no further details other than that. Stocks were up this morning. Now they're down a teeny bit, and some of it's probably tied into this Boeing stuff and yada yada. I think Asian markets didn't do too shabby. They're still up in the general picture. But yes, well, now it's positive. What is going on? Interesting. They're up and down, up and down. But yeah, we've got gold still up, though. Look at that, 32.44. It's almost back to its new high. But again, growing back up. I think 32.50, roughly right around there, is where it got to. Again, folks, highly recommend that you get out of their system. It looks like you still might have a little more time to do that. Again, stock market is sort of holding for the moment. I know there's a lot of people that suspect that it's going to make it just fine. I am definitely not one of the people that believes that in any way, shape, or form. I believe the Federal Reserve System has to come down. I believe the IRS has to come down. I believe a lot of these systems have to come down. Doing that, as we've started to see, is not a pain-free process. So for all the people that are like, no, he's going to do it, nothing's going to happen, I swear it's going to work out great. That's not what we've seen. In fact, he had to undo what he did because it was causing some severe problems. So again, I would highly recommend getting out, or at least diversifying some funds out of that stock market into precious metals. Precious metals are doing incredibly well. They're up probably close to 50% at this point in the last year. Nothing else is competing against that. I mean, maybe crypto, but even that, I don't even know if it's quite up that far in the last year. And crypto's doing very well as an asset, don't get me wrong. Certainly better than anything else, except gold. Gold's doing very well. You can let my good friends at Goldco help you. They're a very good company. They're extremely good at what they do. They can get you out tax-free, penalty-free. 4 data points. You're going to get some free stuff in the process, most likely. You got this half-ounce coin. I think most everybody is getting that. If they put the 4 data points, hit the button, and call within the 20 minutes, I think they're giving you the coin. From what I understand, I've heard this from a couple other places. Don't quote me per se on it, but I think there's a strong chance you're getting that half-ounce free Ronald Reagan silver coin. It's 0.999% pure. Also up to 10% free silver of whatever the face value is of your 401k or IRA. Also, if you want to just buy some precious metals, they're an incredible source of that as well. They're very helpful. You can do DocuSign and all that. You literally can be done. When I did it, it was less than a day. I was literally less than a day, and I was able to do all of my transactions. I think I just paid with credit card. Might have been how I made that part easy, but I think they might even have some other payment methods that are sufficiently simple as well. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Get out of that system before they get out of you. And my good friends at Goldco can help you do that and hopefully try to save some money and get you some free silver in the process. Very good stuff. Nvidia is committing $500 billion to build an AI supercomputers plus in the United States exclusively. This is very big and exciting news. All necessary permits will be expedited and quickly delivered to Nvidia, as they will all companies committing to be part of the golden age of America. Also, Trump is truthing out in regards to the farmers. He says, our farmers are great. But because of their greatness, they are always put on the front line with our adversaries, such as China, whenever there is a trade negotiation or, in this case, a trade war. The same thing happened in my first term. China was brutal to our farmers. These patriots to just hold on, and a great trade deal was made. I rewarded our farmers with a payment of $28 billion all through the China deal. It was a great transaction for the USA until crooked Joe Biden came in and didn't enforce it. China largely reneged on the deal, although they behaved during the Trump administration, only buying a portion of what they agreed to buy. They had zero respect for the crooked Biden administration, and who can blame them for that? Interestingly, they just reneged on the big Boeing deal, saying that they will not take possession of fully committed to aircraft. The USA will protect our farmers. And this part here I think it's interesting. Farmers, these patriots to hold on. So I'm wondering, is that asked? I asked these patriots to just hold on. I don't know, out of curiosity, I'm now wondering if asked. Because again, there's all these people that are under the impression that Trump never makes mistakes when he truths stuff out. I doubt that to be the case, but let's see. President Obama asked if Pompeo asked to meet. We were violent, asked terror. Ooh, this one's inside brackets. Maybe that's how I should search it. Let's do that real quick. What the hell? Because it's missing, right? That's typically, nothing shows up that way. They had the M asked. Masked. Wow, that came up a bunch. Interesting. So I don't know. I don't think Trump did it on purpose. That's for sure. I think sometimes he just makes mistakes. So again, all the people that are out there and they take these posts and they're like the exact time it came out, and then this letter's missing, or they put this letter twice. Well, that has to be a communication. I don't know. He's missing a word here. I blanked these patriots just to hold on. So you guys can let me know. Nancy Pelosi adamantly refusing to step down, embodying the problem with Democratic leadership. She's even got Hakeem Jeffries suggesting she should step down. Obviously, she doesn't want to give up her major fundraising that she gets through cheating in the stocks, right? So, yeah, she's not wanting to step down. William Brown, former mayor of San Francisco, he says, as long as Nancy takes a breath, she is going to do what she wants to do. That's true. So long as she can continue to drink wine through a straw, she is going to continue to do what she's doing. Yeah, she's a horrible person. That's all I can say. This is put out, while Democrats weaponize invented Russian collusion claims in an attempt to sink President Trump's first term, in retrospect, the party's leaders have often gone soft on Russia when it wanted to reap financial or political benefits for themselves or allies. From the Obama-era Russian reset and the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's Skolkovo investment project to Hunter Biden's business in Moscow and President Joe Biden's waiving of sanctions against a Russian pipeline, key Democratic figures reaped politically and financial benefits from going soft on Moscow. Newly declassified documents produced by the FBI and the Department of Justice's Crossfire Hurricane investigation into allegations that then-candidate Trump or members of his campaign coordinated with Russia to influence the 2016 elections wholly discredited the probe. For example, one key informant account was deemed unreliable. An official disputed a key media narrative, and key source Christopher Steele leaked his infamous dossier to the media. Last week, FBI Director Kash Patel transmitted to Congress hundreds of pages of declassified documents from that investigation, following a declassification executive order from President Donald Trump last month. Just the news made all 700 pages from the declassified binder available to the public. Despite several years' worth of focus on the allegations from the Democrats in Congress, an investigation by special counsel Robert Mueller did not establish any criminal Trump-Russia collusion. Special counsel John Durham, appointed to review the probe, ultimately concluded that neither the U.S. law enforcement nor the intelligence community appears to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion in their holdings at the commencement of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Now, again, words matter. He says they do not appear to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion. They did not appear to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion, meaning they burned all that shit. It's gone. They didn't have any evidence. Evidence is what matters. You can think you got it. And again, all of us are like, we got it all. We got all the evidence. Space Force has it. Well, I'm going to say this. That evidence was never brought into this case at all. Now, I don't disagree that they have it, but it certainly wasn't brought forward from them. Again, another one of those things that we've constantly heard from our side, that Space Force has everything. And again, maybe they do, but they have brought forward very little, if any, of it. So again, I don't often share the same views most of the crazy conspiracy people say out there. And again, I'm a conspiracy theorist with like the rest of you. I just don't believe every single freaking conspiracy I hear. I think there's a bunch of them that are crap. So I try to discern. I try to do the best I can, and I try to help you guys discern as best I can, though I know you guys disagree with me often. It's okay. It's what this is all about. Trying to get to the bottom of it. There's other people that are disagreeing with me, which is good. We need to have different thoughts and opinions. So that's kind of cool. We've got a new DHS recruitment ad featuring the Secret Service agent DJ Daniel. Check it out.
Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear a shield. They don't seek the spotlight. You will find them hidden under the shade. Heroes nearly invisible, unseen, unwavering, guarding our leaders' lives at all costs, with sharp eyes and steadfast courage. They step forward to safeguard the heart of our nation, bravely putting themselves between every American and the dangers of an uncertain and chaotic world. Sometimes being a hero means staying in the shadows, watching where no one thinks to look, being smarter, faster, stronger than a threat no one else sees before it arrives. Not all heroes wear capes, but when you serve with us, even when no one sees you, someone is always looking up to you.
The United States Secret Service is calling for a few more heroes. Will you step forward?
Good stuff, huh? Makes me wish I was younger. I probably would have considered hopping into something like that. FBI Director Kash Patel reports that they've arrested an individual who they believe to be responsible for the February arson attack on a New Mexico Tesla facility, and says evidence they uncovered strongly suggests that he was planning more arson attacks. They also think he went after the Republican convention or Republican whatever it was there in, I think it was Phoenix as well, the Republican, headquarters or something like that, whatever it was. So they think they got this guy. Now, you're going to love this. I think they got a picture of him in here. No? Maybe not. We got a picture of him. Oh, that's him. Oh, there we go. There's with the lipstick. Yeah, so he's got this fun purplish colored lipstick. Pam Bondi, of course, had a comment to make about that, and I thought it was pretty damn funny. Check this out.
Now, I think someone might be visiting one of those prisons. It looks like you got one of these guys, a Tesla terrorist,
That's right.
And he's got some lipstick. What's that?
You know, Jesse, this guy is charged with committing the Tesla offense in New Mexico in February, and then the GOP headquarters in March. These people thought they could get away with it. They can't. This is our fifth major arrest on Tesla. I guess they are listening. They better listen. This guy is looking at 40 years in prison. I have directed my prosecutors not to make any offers. He is going away, if convicted, for 40 years. He is the fifth major arrest we've made, and stay tuned for more.
What shade of lipstick is he wearing?
It looks like a deep purple. The shade this season, though, is lavender, so he's a few shades darker.
I love that. I mean, I'm assuming lavender is actually true. I don't know. I know nothing about fashion, especially makeup. Thank God. That's probably a good thing. So Georgia man accused of threatening Tulsi Gabbard and her husband says prepare to die. Well, he's been arrested as well. See, we're not playing around anymore. It's kind of funny. You can't make threats. They used to be able to make threats all over the place. Now they're being arrested. A communist faculty member of Washington State University was arrested after allegedly assaulting a student for wearing a MAGA hat. In February, WSU junior Jay Sani was getting takeout in Pullman, Washington's historic College Hill district, when he was allegedly ambushed and assaulted by Patrick Mahoney and Gerald Hoff. As Sani was heading home with a sandwich, surveillance cameras captured the vicious beatdown. I love this part, by the way. This is the best. Vicious beatdown, which was happening in front of the Coug, I guess. It's a popular campus bar packed with students. But this assault, this vicious beatdown, it left him with multiple scrapes and bruises. This vicious beatdown left him with scrapes and bruises. I don't know about you, but I don't consider scrapes and bruises to be a vicious beatdown. That's generally not what a beatdown is. This, obviously, is an individual who wrote this has never witnessed a beatdown or experienced one, for that matter. Pullman police arrested Mahoney and Hoff within hours of the assault on Colorado Street. The pair are now facing fourth-degree misdemeanor charges. Police say there was no racial or political motivation for the attack, but Sandy believes the trigger was his bright red MAGA hat. Yeah, some people can't handle stuff like that, just pure and simple. Donald Trump, truth this. In regards to Joe Walsh's post, the tyrant that is Donald Trump and the tyrannical behavior he's engaged in now is exactly why our founders insisted upon the Second Amendment. So, again, after 2 assassination attempts, we've still got people like this talking this way. Now, this is not a threat directly. It is an indirect threat, or it's a indirect call to violence, unquestionably. Questionable on its legality. Needless to say, Donald Trump Jr. chimed in just when you think the radical left can't get any lower. Yeah, they continue to surprise all of us. White House readies plan for Congress to axe taxpayer funding for NPR and PBS. They're literally doing this through Congress now. They're getting rid of the funding. It is going away. That is that. This has to do with the Doge stuff. Major funding changes are contained in a long-awaited rescissions plan. Obtained the first report by the Post that pitched a clawback of $1.1 billion appropriated for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and $8.3 billion from U.S. aid. This memo, drafted by White House Budget Director Russ Vought, there we go, and requested by GOP congressional leaders, accuses CBP of a lengthy history of anti-conservative bias and cites waste, fraud, and abuse at U.S. aid. So we'll see what happens. Formal transmissions of the plan to lawmakers will start a 45-day clock for the Republican-held House and Senate to either adopt or reject the blueprint, which the White House believes will pass, unlike President Trump's 2018 rescission plan, which failed by 1 vote in the Senate. We actually have a chance of pulling this off this time. Trump administration freezes $2 billion after Harvard rejects demands. Harvard's basically saying we're not going to let somebody else force us into this kind of behavior. And essentially what Trump wanted, they wanted to include essentially demands. This is what Trump was demanding, that they include auditing viewpoints of the student body. They wanted to be able to ask the student body, do you feel like there's anti-Semitism that happens on this campus? Harvard's like, hell no, we're not letting you do that. So Trump's going to claw back $2.2 billion, or just never give them the $2.2 billion in multi-year grants and $60 million in multi-year contract value that would be frozen to the Ivy League university. So again, Harvard's not playing game, but this is where the interesting thing comes into play, or at least it's going to here in a second. Now, Trump said this in a truth. Perhaps Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status and be taxed as a political entity if it keeps pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired support. Sickness? Remember, tax-exempt status is totally contingent on acting in the public interest. Big threat going to Harvard at this point. Now, this was interesting. Of course, the $2.2 billion, but they've got some fun points in here. I don't know who wrote this. News Treason Channel 17. Whoever that is. In 2023, Trump announced he was launching the American Academy, a completely free, fully accredited online university available to all Americans. You probably remember that. He told you he'd take billions by taxing, fining, and suing excessively large private university endowments and use those funds to endow the American Academy. Now stop and think how many years it would take to actually run such a program through the corrupt court systems. He wouldn't be able to do such a thing in 4 or even 8 years, unless it was already done. How? Think back to Executive Order 13818 and 13848. Both have provisions for asset seizures against any person, company, or institution that participated in crimes against humanity and or election fraud. Trump didn't just start shutting off these funds as you're seeing now. Quote, we have it all, end quote. One of my least favorite comments made, by the way, because if we did have it all, wouldn't we have shown that information prior? I don't know, whatever. Doesn't matter. You're witnessing the public rollout of the military operation that was used to seize funds from the corrupt universities. Enjoy the show. Again, the military thing, I assume they're part of it, but I don't think a lot of it is the military right now. I think it's Trump. It's happening through Trump, and it's happening through Trump's administration. So again, there's a lot of people that have read the Q posts and insist that's exactly what's happening verbatim, even though they would never have been so stupid as to tell their exact plans to everybody. And so many people that read the Q posts thought that just the Q posts were just being read by us. They really do. I think a lot of people think that, that the deep state wasn't actually reading them too. And so you can't say what you're doing. For sure, anyways. So again, there's a lot of people that, well, it said in the Q post that the military's in charge. Now, the military will be the only way forward. I think that will make sense. But to say the military is in charge right now, that's not true. It's not. They're not on the streets. There's not martial law. They're helping in other parts of the world, but even that's still a cluster F right now. And they're not taking over anything. They're not riding into cities and arresting people. None of that shit's happening yet. So again, not trying to get ahead of ourselves, but the point of taking assets away from people that have gone against humanity, the country, any number of things, this is very likely part of what's going on right now. So we got a group of universities, including Brown University and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, also known as MIT. An education group filed a lawsuit on Tuesday seeking to halt the Department of Energy's cuts to federal research grants. Last week, the Energy Department announced a new policy to reduce the funding of indirect costs of research grants to 15%. However, the plaintiffs argue such cuts will devastate scientific research at American universities and undermine the nation's status as a global leader in innovation. The suit filed Monday in the U.S. District Court of Massachusetts claims the policy change is unlawful and violates the Administrative Procedures Act. It seeks an injunction, which I'm sure they'll get an injunction. And they're going to say that the Trump administration must give these people the money. He's not going to. So we'll see how that one all plays out in the end. But I'm sure they're judge shopping. I'm sure in Massachusetts they're going to find one. I find that very easy to believe. So again, we'll see how things continue to play out. But the whole idea that our chance of being the leader of innovation is going to go away because we're not wasting money in certain places that shouldn't get it. Yeah, that's a very different story. And there's plenty of other colleges that do enormously awesome research. MIT, of course, has a great reputation, but they've also got a great reputation of being hardcore progressives, hardcore crazy leftists. And yeah, that's not necessarily what we need or want right now in the moving forward version of the United States. So, will this stop us from being the leader in innovation? I actually think it's the opposite. I think it's going to allow us to finally be a leader in innovation because, frankly, we haven't been doing that. Secondly, we've had more IP, intellectual property, stolen from universities by China and allowed by the administrations before, by the colleges themselves, by the crap vetting they do of these students, or by the fact that they've got anti-Semitism and pro-Palestinian and pro-Hamas and anti-Israel discussions happening on their campuses. So there's a lot of things that really aren't helping us be leaders in innovation right now. So again, MIT, pardon my French, fuck you. How about that? That's where I'm at with it. Take it and shove it. You can use some Kentucky jelly if you'd like to get it in easier, but like I've said, fat or lean, thick or thin, Vaseline will get it in. U.S. congressional watchdog to probe changes at the SEC, says a letter. New York, April 14th. Reuters posted this, so, take it for a grain of salt. The U.S. Governmental Accountability Office plans to scrutinize changes at the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, including and led by the White House or Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, even though Elon Musk doesn't run the department. They keep trying to say that because that's their spin that they keep trying to put on it. Musk is not an employee of the government at all, period. But they keep wanting to say that, don't they? Right? Because it riles people up. So anyway, this is the letter sent to Democrat lawmakers in Capitol Hill. The GAO, Congress's nonpartisan research arm, told Senators Elizabeth Warren, a.k.a. Pocahontas, and Mark Warner that it will review the SEC's recent efforts to cut staff and leases and consolidate its work, according to a copy of the letter. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but that's what they're going to try to do, so good on them. Abrego Garcia's attorney asked the Trump administration to at least pretend to request his return from El Salvador so that he's in compliance with the Supreme Court orders, particularly since El Salvador is operating like a U.S. prison contractor, they say. I think that's hilarious. Yeah. Can you at least pretend to try to get him back? No, not gonna. We just had the Bukele guy here said he's not going to do it because it would be illegal to bring him here, and Trump's not asking him to bring him here because the dude's a terrorist. We understand there was a small administrative error that was made, and now, of course, the media is running with it like this dude didn't do anything wrong just because of an administrative error. Whatever the case is, he's never coming back to the United States. Again, to the judge that's involved in this, suck it. Seriously. No, it ain't happening. Sorry, Charlie. Chris Van Hollen vows to visit El Salvador if Maryland man deported there isn't returned by midweek. Well, he's not going to be returned. Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat from Maryland, said he's going to visit El Salvador. All right, have fun. Go to El Salvador. I'm going to laugh if they don't let you. I'm going to laugh if the president's like, I don't know if you need to come. But if he does, he's like, yeah, I'll meet with you. Can you get that guy back? Nope. But anything else you want to talk about while you're here? Oh, why can't we get him back? Because he's a terrorist, and he's in jail right now. He's a really bad dude. Yeah, but we don't think he's a bad dude. We don't care. We're going to keep him here. Thanks. Have a good day. Do you need help getting back to the plane, or you got it? You got this? All right. Yeah. Uber doesn't work real well here in El Salvador. You might want to caution yourself on doing that. Lawyers challenging the incarceration of El Salvador man of more than 200 Venezuelans deported by the U.S. said the Salvadoran government is denying the prisoners access to attorneys in contact with the outside world. You mean they don't have American rights once they end up in an El Salvador prison? Right. They don't. Tough shit. I'm loving this. I'm sorry. This is like a McDonald's commercial for me. I'm loving it. Under an agreement with the Salvadoran government, President Donald Trump's administration in March sent 238 Venezuelans to its terrorism confinement center. Opens new tab, the largest prison in Latin America, as part of a crackdown on immigration. The lawyers said that they have not been able to visit, speak to, or learn about the whereabouts and conditions of their clients whose identities they have gleaned through leaked information. Tough shit is what that comes down to. Lawyers. I want to say F you too, but I feel like I've said the F word so many times already that there's probably a couple people out there that wish I would, step it back a hair. A bunch of you guys are like, dude, I think you should say it more. I'd rather say it more. Let's just say that. We got a bromance going on between these two. I just want to say it. So White House posted this. I love the people of El Salvador, and they have one hell of a president. President Donald Trump said to @Nayib Bukele. And of course, Nayib responded back, I miss you already, President T. Oh, man, that's just adorable. I ain't quitting you. Feel like we're in a Brokeback Mountain. Whatever. A judge stops Trump from yanking legal status for 530,000 migrants allowed in the U.S. under Biden. Yeah, they're just fighting this one even further. They're saying that the Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, Venezuelan nationals who were brought into the U.S. under the controversial Biden administration program, that Trump just can't immediately send them home. Of course, it's a Boston district judge, Indira Talwani, who wants to bet she's the one that ends up with this other case. She was an Obama appointee, by the way. Ruled that the migrants are entitled to a case-by-case review and declined to put her decision on hold while the Trump administration appeals it. Here's the thing that all that needs to happen. First off, any of these guys that are Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and or possibly other gang members will be pushed out. I would say people part of the Communist Party, probably fair game as well. Haitians, I don't know. They've got criminal records. Who knows? Haiti's a mess. And I kind of borderline feel bad about sending a bunch of people back to Haiti because Haiti's a mess right now. Again, I don't know. I'd say we should send Hillary Clinton there without any help. Just her. Literally parachute her down on the island and, hand her a water bottle and just see how she does. That'd be fun, I think. Maybe put a camera on her that she can't get off so we can just watch it. It'd be fantastic. Donald Trump truth this out. Moments ago, the illegal criminal who was allowed into our country by crooked Joe Biden was convicted of the heinous murder of Rachel Morin. Rachel was a beautiful mother of 5 from Maryland, and her life was taken at the hands of a monster who should never have been here in the first place. The fake news should be focusing on the beautiful life and tragic death of this Maryland mother, rather than the so-called Maryland father who was actually an MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist from El Salvador. We will never forget Rachel Morin and are committed to protecting women like her across our country. We will deport illegal murderers, rapists, and criminals. Make America great again. We will deport illegal murderers. The judges don't have anything to say when it comes to people that are enemies of the state, period, and people that have committed crimes in this country while being illegal. They have no rights. Trump's going to send them back and let the judges get pissed off. That's awesome. And there's a lot of people that are talking about it. I don't know if I've got the post up. It might be this last one here about how we're at a constitutional crisis. They keep saying this. I saw it in, 3 different sites. Constitutional crisis. Because we got judges that are essentially trying to tell the government or tell the president how he's allowed to be the executor of the executive branch. And he's basically ignoring them. And I think most of us are, well, frankly, stoked about it. I mean, the stuff he's choosing to ignore, I think, is perfect versus some of the stuff that he's actually letting play out in the courts. I think it's pretty impressive, by the way. I'm fine with it. AP claims it was once again blocked from Trump's Oval Office amid court order to restore access. And they're appealing this, but they were blocked again. Lower court order has been paused for 5 days until Monday to allow time for an appeal to be filed. Trump's team is appealing the ruling to the U.S. Court of Appeals in the D.C. Circuit and is slated to face a hearing on Thursday. D.C. U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden, whom Trump appointed in 2017, declined to delay his order from taking effect Tuesday, despite a request from the Trump administration to give more time for an appeal. So, whatever. To a degree, they're saying you have to do this until, you can appeal this. And Trump's like, no, we're just going to appeal it, and then we'll see what happens. I'm not going to restore budgets. I'm not going to put people back in jobs. I'm not going to bring people back into this country before we can prove that you have no right to stop me. Sorry, that's not happening. So again, many judges stepping well outside their boundaries. This is just part of the joy that we've got playing out right now. Unions sue to block Trump from eliminating labor mediation agency. We've been hearing about this. This is kind of not the first time this case has come up. They're still trying to stop him from doing that, basically thinning down the government. One of the things he did is got rid of the mediation agency. And this was just so unions could negotiate with our government for higher wages, which to me is just absolutely asinine that unions are even allowed within a government job. I don't feel like that used to be legal, and it certainly shouldn't be legal. And I'm sure it was a Democrat that made it okay. Whatever. State Department has eliminated $214 million in foreign funding initiatives. They're nixing 139 taxpayer-funded grants that promoted, among other things, newsroom sustainability in Moldova, media diversity in the United Kingdom, and environmental resilience in Armenia. Washington Free Beacon has learned all this great stuff, so they're carving back that money too. I'm sure somebody's going to sue about it. We'll see how that plays out. And I'm sure a judge is going to be like, you have to give them the money. And Trump's going to be like, no, I don't. Not gonna. Potential constitutional collision is becoming impossible to ignore. Yeah, they're talking about it all over the place. Who cares? It's sort of stupid. It's super stupid, actually, but it is what it is. That is the bottom line. I want to remind you guys, of course, of my good old Pet Club people. I love this stuff. Great products for people, but most importantly, great products for your pets. So we got the shop tab. So when you go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com, like it says on the screen there, danradiostyle.petclub247.com, click the shop tab, and you're going to see some great stuff. What this has to do with is the mushroom Coriolis versicolor. This mushroom actually helps the immune system within animals, just animals in general, meaning dogs, cats, horses, people, and many other animals. A great way to get this mushroom into the body of your favorite animal is, well, for dogs, the mush puppies. Great way to do it. It's just a pretty inexpensive way to begin giving that mushroom to your dogs. It's a cookie, basically, a treat. We've got the Mojos, which is a treat that cats tend to like a little more. Dogs, too, of course. It's a liver treat. It's a piece of liver that's got some of that Coriolis versicolor in it. So a little more friendly to the cat variety, but also offered to dogs. And again, you can buy whatever you want for anything. Special sauce. If you need to try to get some more calories into your animal, maybe they're not eating enough, or you need to get some more of the special sauce into them, but they're not necessarily an overweight animal, you can just add special sauce to whatever they're doing, and it's a way to get some more of that mushroom in their food. It's also a way to get some more calories into their bodies as well. But it's also an easy way just to mix that in the regular food that you're already doing. Now, they do have a number of different foods you can get for dogs and cats. They also have some other treats. They got chill doggies. They've got mush ponies for the ponies. What else we got? We got the foods for the dogs. They got freeze-dried. They've got a couple different regular ones. They've got canned dry food. They got even dog biscuits. These awesome antler sticks, by the way, are really good. Dogs love sticks. They don't really give a crap that it's a real stick or not a real stick. What's really cool is these are not Chinese-made toys. Chinese-made toys tend to have lead and other things in them that are very, very not good for your animals. They just aren't. What this is a stick. Animals, dogs especially, love sticks. They're going to chew on this thing all the time. It's good for their teeth when they chew on it. Secondly, it releases those minerals in the antler, calcium mostly, I think, and it's ingesting that calcium, which is also good for the dog. So these are awesome toys that the dog is going to actually enjoy. They got mutt mints too for the dogs that have that nasty ass breath. You know who I'm talking about out there. Don't have to tell them, don't look at the dog right when I said it. The dog's going to know that I was talking about him or her. Catnip thing too. Again, rope, no chemicals, and catnip, so cats love it. They've also got the cat foods that you can use and the special sauce for cats. So again, powerful products to help keep your animals healthy. And of course, we've got a whole humans tab. A lot of good stuff over there. A lot of good stuff. I had Baby Trump on way back in the day. He had a throat tumor, a pretty good sized one from what I understand. He took huge quantities of this. I want to say about 5 times the regular amount that you would normally take of this mushroom. Got prayers and essentially just drank water. And yeah, the doctors were like, how the hell did you get this to go away? He took a lot of this product, and it made a huge difference. So again, go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. That's danradiostyle.petclub247.com, and you can start saving your own life, start saving your pets' lives, and make the world a better place. All that stuff. It all happens right there by going to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. Department of Veterans Affairs has canceled an unreasonably priced $15.3 million contract in an effort to overhaul how the agency cares for its warfighters. So, great work by the Department Vet Affairs, canceling an unreasonably priced multi-year $15.3 million service for contract for salary survey data and analysis. $15.3 million per year, multi-million dollar per year anyway. I want to say it was $3.9 million annually. It was replaced by a market-priced equivalent of $5,000 per year. Yeah, they were paying $3.9 million to one of their friends, replaced it out for a market price of $5,000. Yeah, they just saved a crap ton of money right there. And again, this is an example of friends getting deals. Happens all the time. Happens all over the place. It's the kind of stuff we need to put a stop to. This is some craziness. Russia, they have this doomsday radio station. I guess it's UVB-76. It broadcasted 4 very cryptic messages in the span of 24 hours. Neptune, Thymus, Foxcloak, and Nudibux. Russian media is reporting no one knows what happened or why. That's probably part of the point. But many people like myself are pretty sure this is a message to people that are in the know. Maybe even people like Trump and the NSA and stuff like that. Very possible. Let's listen to this. Now, I'm not going to keep playing it because it does, to me, sound like they repeat the same thing over again. And I'm telling you, every time I listen to it, I can't hear the word Neptune. I can't hear the word Thymus. Can't hear the word Foxcloak, nor Nudibux. I hear all sorts of other stuff. But whatever the case is, this mysterious message has got a lot of people curious, for lack of a better way to put it. This is kind of funny, I guess. The UK transferred almost $1 billion US. Apparently, it was about $990 million US, but 750 million pounds. And they did this on April 14th under a G7 loan. They at least get a loan out of the deal. And this is a loan to help them buy weapons. But here's the question. Who are they going to get the weapons from? Now, I wonder, Are they going to buy them from us, and we're just going to take some of UK's money? Okay, cool. I'm sure we'd be okay with that. I think the agreement we're making with Putin, though, would keep us from being allowed to supply weapons. But I feel like this is the G7's attempt at putting us in a difficult place to make us look like Putin puppets. It's kind of my take on it. Because they're going to be like, well, look, you got money, so you can't complain about the fact that you're just giving away weapons. Now they can actually buy them from you. And we're going to be like, yeah, but we're actually trying to put a stop to this war, and we actually find that continuing to supply weapons to this country that is just continuing to use them, and then many thousands of Ukrainians are dying on a regular basis, and many thousands of Russians are dying on a regular basis. Yeah, no, we don't want to be a part of this anymore. We want the fighting to stop. So no. That's great. You gave him money. It's awesome. Be careful that you pay attention where it went, because he'll steal it and end up with a third yacht, probably. But you go, UK. You show us how it's done. Chicago cancels the Cinco de Mayo parade. They're afraid that ICE is going to show up and arrest a bunch of people, which they very well might have. And hey, if you're in Chicago and you're, oh man, I'm not going to get to go to the Cinco de Mayo thing. Here, do like the rest of us do here in California. Go to a Mexican restaurant on Cinco de Mayo. And in fact, you'll be surprised. I think Cinco de Mayo is on a Monday this year, because I have a good friend that owns a Mexican restaurant that I love. I have a friend that owns an Italian restaurant. See, I make friends with the places I go. I'm just telling you that much. But to my understanding, Cinco de Mayo is on a Monday, and they're going to be celebrating at this establishment Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. What? You mean you can go and celebrate it on a day other than the exact day? Yeah, you sure can. And you don't have to worry about getting arrested. Not a bad deal. Minnetonka police say one person is now in custody after an intruder was reported to be on the campus of United Healthcare late Monday. We talked about this yesterday, and apparently it was one dude. They surrounded the entire campus. Apparently they took him in custody without any sort of issues. They didn't say anything about him having a weapon. I don't know. Nothing major seems to have come from it, but he was suspicious looking, that's for sure. I wonder if he had that dark purple lipstick. Yeah, that would scare me a little bit. Department of Transportation saves taxpayers over $60 million by terminating Texas high-speed rail contract. Sweet. Wonder who just got screwed on this deal. I mean, obviously, probably the same company here in here in California that was involved in our high-speed rail system that has literally done next to nothing. I think they've got, I don't even think they have 15 miles of track. Like, it's stupid. It's stupid. I saw pictures of the bridge that's not completed. I mean, it's way over budget. It's like 10 times over budget. It's nowhere near where it was supposed to be. It's not even close to accomplishing what it was supposed to. So yeah, they shut this down. This was an Amtrak project, Amtrak Texas high-speed rail corridor. Yeah, it ain't gonna happen now. I'm sure Texas is a little bummed, but with all of the stuff that's going to be going into Texas as far as semiconductors, what Tesla's doing, SpaceX, the spaceport, all that shit's going to be in Texas. So I don't think Texas needs the money that badly, frankly. Governor DeSantis is blasting the Florida GOP leaders for colluding with the Dems and media in a cabal to smear Hope Florida. He's accusing them of betraying voters by neglecting key issues like taxes and condos. You got a cabal of them in the leadership. They are colluding with the liberal media. I guess we'll play this. I don't know. Let's see. I hope it's good. I don't know if it's going to be. I like DeSantis, but it's 3 minutes. Yikes.
These guys in the Florida House of Representatives, you got a cabal of them in the leadership. They are colluding with liberal media and the Democratic Party in Florida to try to manufacture smears against Hope Florida, against me, against the First Lady. And what I've told people is, I've been doing this for 6 years. Every single time I roll out of bed, I face attacks from liberal media and the Democrats. That's nothing new. They're going to manufacture whatever they can. But to have Republicans in the Florida House leadership colluding with these people, when they're doing that and they're not cutting your property taxes, they're not fixing the condo crisis, they're not doing the things that voters want them to do, make no mistake about that. They are stabbing you in the back. They are refusing to do their jobs, and they are trying to manufacture smears to support their political agenda. And it's interesting, these House members, I do a Governor's Cup where we raise money for charity. We did the Governor's Cup last year. We did it over in Watersound. we did this Governor's Cup. We raised massive amounts of money in the Governor's Cup for the direct support organization affiliated with Hope Florida. They were all a part of this. They were all singing the praises. And so they think that there may be some political angle. They're worried, I think, the fact that I've been calling them out for their lackluster and really treacherous agenda. I mean, it's one thing to do nothing, right? It's another thing to actively empower the Democrats and the left. And that's exactly what they've been doing in the Florida House of Representatives this legislative session. So these smears against Hope Florida, anybody who's making those smears is not serving you well. That is not something that makes sense when very few examples of government actually succeeding and helping to lift people up. And not only that, you have states around the country have come down to study this program and are implementing it in different states around the country. Now, not the liberal states because they don't want to enlist the churches in the effort, but that's their problem. You know, they're wrong about not wanting to do that. So you have that. They come and they do all this stuff. And it's interesting because you listen to some of these are Republican legislators. It's like, how come someone will come from Iowa to learn about Hope Florida and you won't even walk down the hall and ask questions about it because you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't even understand what the program is actually doing. So this is something that's really good. I'm really excited that we have this here. Today's announcement is going to make a difference in the lives of people, and especially when you're talking about our state college.
Anyway, yeah, I guess I'm glad I let him talk. He had a lot to say there. And by the way, it worked out really well because I just got a phone call from MyPillow, and apparently Mike Lindell wants to come on the show on a regular basis. So we're going to start having Mike come on probably every couple weeks. We'll do, 5-10 minutes with him. Basically an extended commercial, most likely, but that's not a bad thing in the big picture. For those of you that like Mike Lindell, it should be a lot of fun, and I like it. It's a good step in the right direction as far as me moving into larger bodies of water. So very cool stuff. Anyways, New York City Council slaps Adams admin with a lawsuit over the ICE return to Rikers Island. This is kind of stupid. So first off, it's the New York City Council. They're suing the Adams administration because Adams, number 2 in command, is actually the guy that issued this order. And since Adams didn't necessarily endow him with that power, then they consider the order to be null, which I find interesting because then theoretically all Adams would have to do is be like, all right, so it's my order now. Does that make it better? And then in which case, I guess the city council is going to have to be like, yeah, I guess that's cool. So I don't know. This seems stupid to me, kind of. But whatever. We'll see what happens. Again, they're just kind of going after Adams. That's not a surprise. Election integrity watchdog skewers Michigan gubernatorial candidate for allowing illegals to vote. Fair Election Fund. It's an election integrity watchdog organization. They're launching a new effort to hold each Secretary of State in battleground states accountable in how they oversee elections, starting with Michigan's Jocelyn Benson. All right. So they're finally going after, and we were talking about this a few days ago, about how we essentially have to get our voter rolls cleaned up, and we need to get our elections in order before the midterms. This, to me, very much seems like an awesome step in that direction. So good job to our Fair Election Fund, an election integrity watchdog. So good for you guys. Love that. What is this? Oh, Bolsonaro remains in ICU with no schedule for discharge. Apparently, he was stabbed back in 2018. You might remember that. I certainly don't. But he was stabbed, I guess, back in 2018. This seems to be the 6th operation that he's had as a result of these stab wounds. I'm not under the impression that all 6 of these happened just recently. But obviously, since 2018, he's probably had a number of surgeries. I didn't realize he got stabbed. So, dude's been through a lot just trying to keep his wonderful country, Brazil, from falling into the enemy hands that it's unfortunately fallen into. So, yeah, he's still in the hospital. Keep prayers going out to him. Space Development Agency is going to reinstate director following a probe. It's kind of funny that the space development guy and getting probed, that's kind of the thing the Martians do to you. he's getting probed. Anyway, so I thought it was funny. Space Development Agency Director Derek Turnier is going to be reinstated this week following an investigation into its satellite contracting conduct. Kind of a long story. SDA is this group. They're supposed to make sure that the contracts awarded are legitimate. The that nobody's getting preferential treatment, whatever. So they're looking into it. They didn't. I guess they didn't see any issue with how he was behaving. So he's back on the workforce, if you will. We'll see what comes from that. I don't know. Oh, they did actually open it back up, by the way. There was one of the people was not fairly offered the job, so they've reopened up the competition, if you will, and they're going to allow two of the companies to continue to compete. One of them is going to maintain their contract. I believe it's Lockheed is going to maintain. But Tyvak and York Space Systems, I think they're going to kind of go back to fighting for this contract. And essentially, these are tactical satellite prototypes. They help us establish if weapons are going to be launched, if maybe potentially even putting weapons in space. Maybe like lasers and stuff like that, which would make the most sense. Lasers would be the ideal form rather than some sort of projectile or some sort of missile. Bringing something back in from space is surprisingly difficult. Most people think you just like point it towards the Earth and start going, and that's actually going to get you to the Earth. It's actually not true. When you're going around an orbit like that, the only way to get it to land or come into Earth is to literally at one point, the periapsis or the apoapsis, whichever, but you have to slow yourself down. And when you slow yourself down, it causes your orbit to decay. And then when you finally start moving around, you're actually going to enter the atmosphere that way. It's the only way. So you've literally got to slow it. You've got to point against the direction you're heading, not towards the Earth, but against the direction you're heading. And then you slow yourself down. And that's actually how you fall back to Earth. So shooting missiles from space is not easy at all. Shooting lasers, well, that is line of sight. So that's kind of a different story altogether. Space stuff's fun. For any of you guys that like any of that kind of crap or want to learn more about it, I highly recommend it. It's a video game. If you like video games, Kerbal Space Program, KSP, oh, it's so much fun. If you've got Steam, it's an easy way to go about it for any of you guys out there that play games. Kerbal Space Program's a blast. It's cute little, I should almost pull up the thing just to show you. It's not someone I'm affiliated with, but it is truly one of my favorite games. So KSP is one of the coolest games ever. These Kerbals are adorable. And it really just, I don't know why I'm spending the time on this. I just think the game is so damn cool.
Today, we will be checking off another important milestone.
So this is docking and all this stuff. And anyway, it's a fun game. And you've got these little Kerbals. Where are they? They're down over here. You can kind of see them. I'm sort of in the way. But they're cute as hell. There's little green dudes. Just a fun game. So anyway, it gets you into rocket. You build the rockets. You literally launch the rockets. For those of you that want to play and want help, because it's hard, there's an add-on that you can look for. It's called MechJeb. That's a good way to go about it. And there is another component, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, that helps you keep all that stuff up to date. But do a little looking, and you'll find it. But it's a fun game. Fun game. And you could start it just without having MechJeb and still have a blast. But as it gets harder and harder, as you get further and further into the game, you'll start trying to get to other planets and other moons and trying to land on them and stuff. And yeah, there's a whole lot. You can hack the parts too. It's fun as hell. You can get in there and like make it so they don't use fuel and they're stronger. I mean, it's just, the game's a blast. It's a blast. Another U.S. aircraft carrier has finally made it to the Middle East. We heard that it was on its way and steaming there. It seems like it's finally made it, which, I don't know, I think it was about a week ago that we heard the story. These things are making some pretty good speed. I mean, I know it can do about 30 knots. I don't believe that's typically what they cruise at. Maybe. They might if they're in a hurry. I know they've got some submarines and they've got helicopters that can drop buoys and stuff. So there's a lot of things they can do to try to monitor noise of submarines or anything along those lines. And so just because this carrier is moving 30 knots doesn't mean that the attack subs that are guarding this fleet, as well as the helicopters, and they can park and just listen, right? So they don't have to necessarily be traveling at 30 knots. Because I think there was a joke at Hunt for Red October. It says, the speed we're traveling, we could run over my daughter's stereo system and we wouldn't hear a thing. And that's true, especially when you're cavitating and stuff like that, which at 30 knots, you're definitely cavitating. Tucker and Kurt Weldon are exposing 9/11 as the biggest scandal in American history. I mean, this is cool. I don't want to play all this because I feel like this is like, seriously, like I thought we all knew this, but now at least Tucker's talking about it, so it must be true. Whatever. Talking about 3 buildings that fell onto their own footprint, how that was basically impossible. They even talk about the polling, I think. They get into some stuff. Good 4 minutes, I'm sure, but if you haven't heard that by now, you go look for it. Go to Tucker's channel. You'll probably find that snippet. 4chan apparently got hacked by the Shardy. They restored QA. They leaked the Janny's passwords, their IRC, and the site is slowing down. This is massive. So a lot of people freaking out. There was one person that was suspicious that they might be able to finally figure out who Q actually was. I don't think there's a chance in hell that that's ever going to happen. I know that they were communicating and they were trying to get the trip codes nailed out, but there's no way they actually knew who they were. Another fun little factoid that they threw in here is they were talking about how they got IP information that suggests which companies, or countries, I should say, were involved in this hack. Dude, if you use a VPN, it makes your IP look like it's from wherever you decide you want it to look like it's from. So IP doesn't mean shit, all right? And if somebody's actually serious about hacking, I guarantee they used a VPN to hide and mask their IP. So the IP that's showing up is not where they're actually at. That's just stupid. So again, I don't know why that's even brought into this story. It seems so irrelevant, but whatever, just throwing that out there. Yeah, this Uche guy, I guess, and apparently the source code was leaked. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see. It's kind of interesting to see what all came from that. Well, I don't know if we'll hear more about it or not. This is also fun. Signal war plans messages disappear from the CI director's phones. Remember how they said you got to hold on to all this stuff? Well, that information wasn't on their phones anymore because it's not. It's not kept. It's deleted, I don't know, almost immediately after. That's part of what's so cool about Signal. It doesn't hold on to stuff. You don't want records. They're like, you got to hang on to your chat records from this date range to this date range, March 11th to 15th. And they're like, okay, even though it's all deleted, so whatever. So, yeah, when they got a hold of CIA Director Ratcliffe's phone, there was nothing on there at all in regards to this conversation. So other than what they've seen from the journalist, there's not a whole lot in there. U.S. House Committee is seeking testimony from 23andMe co-founder after a bankruptcy. They just want to make sure that the data is going to be safe, trying to figure out what she's going to do to make sure that does, in fact, happen. Sean Diddy Combs and famous freak-off videos might be shown to the jury. I mean, I don't know. Freak-off videos, right? Here's the thing. I know a lot of people are like, oh, my God, freaky stuff was happening. Only if underage people are shown, but if not, if it's just a bunch of people, like in an orgy, that's not illegal. It's not. It might be terribly uncomfortable for some of y'all out there. I've never actually been to an orgy. I don't know if I'd go to one. It seems kind of strange, but I will say I'm probably a lot more sexual than many, right? Like, I don't have nearly as strict rules in my stuff like that, but whatever. I don't know what we're going to actually find out about in regards to all that. And finally, the final story, once it finally comes up. There we go. Oh yeah, I didn't realize this all-female crew aboard the Boeing capsule was actually just a bunch of movie stars and shit, like Katy Perry and all them, which made it even funnier because they said it's an all-female crew. None of these people actually flew the craft. They weren't crew. I mean, they were, I guess. They were companions. They weren't flying it. They weren't in charge of its success in any way, shape, or form. They were literally strapped in, praying to God they didn't die. In fact, I think Katy Perry kissed the ground when she came back home. She was probably a little scared, whatever the case is. A lot happening, folks. We got to stay on top of it, and we're going to keep talking about it. That's what we're here to do. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.